right, guys, welcome to another Best Ball live stream. I had just been doing these on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but with the season fast approaching, I've been having the itch to do as many of these as possible. Real quick before I introduce our guest, I did just register us for the Best Ball Mania tournament on Underdog. So we have some space to fill there if you want to hop in. The bubble did fill this morning, so we're up to the $25 price point, but I know you guys got that in your couch cushions. Hop in and draft with us. But back to my guest, Samantha Previte. You know her from the New York Post, and also most recently, she is the new king of TikTok. She has fully dethroned me. I thought I was outworking people over there, and now Samantha is the new thought leader on TikTok. Samantha, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me and squeezing me in on a Wednesday. And I am definitely not the new king of TikTok. That's very funny. I love your content.
Oh yeah, I mean, so I was going hard at it. I mean, my issue was I would post mine on Twitter like you do, and people on Twitter would enjoy them, but the people on TikTok had no patience or interest in what I was trying to do. Are you having better success on TikTok versus Twitter?
I would say probably better success still on Twitter. I have a better following, especially like recently on Twitter. So, and like, you know, people are there for fantasy. I don't have like any friends on TikTok, so I literally just started and had like 0 people, and I was putting them up, and people were like, "What is this? I don't get it at all. Who's Clyde Edwards-Helaire?"
Well, the reason I love the kind of stuff you're doing is you're actually trying to do jokes and entertainment. The biggest Twitter accounts on there are literally just like, here's your top sleepers, here's who to draft, here's this incredible highlight. So whenever we see someone just trying to do something slightly different, it's just a breath of fresh air.
Yes, I mean, you guys will have to like put up with my weird lip syncing to Nicki Minaj and like some odd, very bad dancing, but you know, I'm just here for the jokes.
There you go. And so I wasn't familiar with your work until the past few months when I saw some of your TikToks get shared on the timeline. Tell me about your fantasy writing over at New York Post.
Yeah, I actually only started writing for the New York Post. So I am actually the director of analytics for the Post, unrelated to sports. I kind of just do all of the newsroom analytics. And they were gracious enough to let me start writing and try that out last season. And it's kind of become a lot bigger than that because I wrote about 80 articles on fantasy last season, and then I think I wrote like another 300 articles just on general NFL and kind of general sports coverage. I've written a couple of basketball, a couple of baseball articles. So kind of getting my feet wet in a lot of different things. And it's just honestly been really, really fun trying all sorts of stuff like across sports.
Now, have you merged your analytics background in your fantasy background at all? Are you getting into creating R-square scatter plots of, you know, fantasy efficiency and regression candidates yet?
I have totally done that, though I have not like actually done that in any of my articles. I will say though, because like I'm so numbers obsessed that once my article goes live, like I am insane, like constantly refreshing, like why is it not at like 8,000 views yet or like whatever. So a little anal about that.
That's a double-edged sword, right? Of being into numbers. And so analytics and statistics are naturally fun, but then it can also be unhealthy to be constantly checking your numbers.
Oh, 100%. It sucks because I'm like, I want to act cool and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not competitive. And then I'm like totally competitive and looking at my stuff. So, I mean, normally when we're in the office, we actually have these like leaderboards everywhere that show everyone's stats at all times. So the point is that like the Post kind of fosters that environment anyway. So
I had heard about, so I think when I had last heard about it was the Gawker offices before they folded, where they had the leaderboards up there and it kind of got to be a little competitive and cutthroat.
I don't know if it's cutthroat. I think it's just interesting, like to see the types of content that does well, because it would really surprise you. Actually, I don't know if it would surprise you that much. It's like weird stuff like monkeys throwing feces and like teachers sleeping with their students.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Do you feel like because people, when they hear New York Post, they have, you know, a specific connotation of that as being somewhat tabloidy or whatever? Do you feel like you have to fight against that kind of connotation with your stuff?
I think that there's a line, like people don't expect that, at least with the fantasy stuff. And I haven't gotten that vibe from people. I totally know what you're saying though. I would say there are absolutely articles that are just like very salacious that even I write. And, you know, I think people kind of understand that going into fantasy versus, you know, random Antonio Brown takes.
Yeah. So do you find yourself knowing, have you gotten any of your fantasy articles up on the New York Post big board with some good clickbait?
None of the fantasy articles. I mean, I've gotten a couple of them to like that I've caught on search and SEO and everything. And obviously, like having the New York Post platform is really, really great, especially as like my first fantasy writing gig.
Yeah.
Definitely very lucky about that. But it doesn't do the same traffic as like something like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love.
Right. Yeah. You need that's the same thing with a lot of stuff. Like you watch TV shows or I'm watching Billions right now for the first time. And it's like, oh, you have this cool premise. But it doesn't matter unless there's the relationship element. It's the woman in between her husband and Billy Axelrod or whatever. And it's like those relationships, it's those things that drive drama and entertainment. So it makes sense that it would be the Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, his brother, all of that kind of different stuff, being intrigued to that audience. I always feel like I lose a little piece of my soul when I do a clickbait headline on YouTube, but it works.
I know. I mean, we definitely get flack, and I get flack, and the New York Post gets flack in general, and I'm sure lots of other outlets do for like writing cheaper stories or like whatever, kind of taking that angle and going into like salacious type stuff. But whatever, y'all love it. Like the traffic numbers show it. So
tell me about some of the drafts you've been doing. I had seen that you did one recently in where you took one of my favorite players this year, Laviska Shenault. I take it you were on the Laviska train.
Yeah, I think it was really, so I definitely overpaid for him. Friend Kevin Tompkins, who's joined the league like last minute, bid me up on that one. It was an auction 16 team IDP custom scoring one. So that one's wild. It takes like 4 hours to draft, honestly. And this is the first time we had done it actually like during the day versus at night. Oh yeah, she stole. I also stole Robert Woods from him. So
there you go. I mean, what's the point of an auction if you can't really stick it to people in your league? I did this auction draft last night with these guys that I know of friends who live in Buffalo. And I've been drafting Zach Moss, and every draft he's been really cheap. And he went for, like a sixth of the budget in this Buffalo league. So I'm like, all right, I guess I can't have Zach Moss in this one.
No, totally. It's hard. But it's always funny with like home leagues or friend leagues that, maybe you're as like expert, quote unquote, but it's always like really fun. Like there's that guy that drafts like 4 tight ends for some reason in one league and like wants multiple kickers, but it's always like a fun time. So
for sure. Okay. So we have this draft is about to start. We have the 108 slot. So I guess I first have to ask, where are you on this spectrum of 0 RB, modified single RB, robust RB? I need to know what I'm working with here, Samantha.
I'm definitely on the more robust RB side. 0 RB scares me. Like, I don't know. I mean, more power to you if you can like make a draft work. I think it's all about also like taking what's on the board and kind of assessing at the moment.
Yeah, and the thing I've realized from doing these is it is viable to get 2 really good running backs to start. The way these drafts go, the wide receivers dry up by about the 7th or 8th round, and you can't start. You can only start up to 3 running backs, 2 and then 1 in the flex. So I don't mind, kind of the hyper fragile where you get 2 or 3 running backs to start and then go away from it. But then it can be tough to make up at wide receiver because every one of these drafters is hammering them. Okay, so we are on the clock in a second here, so you can see the board. Who is jumping out to you right now? Michael Thomas goes, so it looks like we got Cook, Sanders, Mixon. Who's your guy here?
I think I would probably go Cook. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's the standout one for me.
I mean, I was drafting Cook, like 104, 105. Now we're getting the holdout discount. Do you have any worries about that, or do you think it's baked into the discount here?
I'm not super worried. I do think it's baked in as well. And I don't think that anyone's really going to hold out this season. Like, I'm not super concerned. But fingers crossed, hopefully not Alvin Kamara.
I know. Yeah. The thing is, like, we've seen it unfold, right? With Le'Veon Bell and Melvin Gordon, and they don't have much leverage. They end up kind of, biting their own nose to spite their face. So I think these guys just want a win in the public opinion, right? They just want to be able to feel like they get something. So I agree with you. It seems at the end of the day that they'll get this stuff worked out, and then we just got a deal on Dalvin Cook.
I love it.
Who, the big thing that's been tough for me is like finding running backs that I don't mind taking in the second round. Which of these kind of running backs available would you be gravitating toward if they fall?
Well, I was just going to say Eckler, and he's gone.
I would have been on board with that for sure, too.
Maybe Nick Chubb. I don't like Chris Carson right now. And then I would probably go Adams, I think, in this spot, though.
I'm with you there. And this is what happens in these drafts of like, you see this run here. I mean, what was that? 8 straight picks, Cook, Sanders, Mixon, Jacobs, Drake, Eckler, Jones. It's like you're chasing if you're not taking the wide receivers, which is always whoa, Mahomes goes at 2-3.
That is really early.
If Adams goes. So now you have 25 seconds, Samantha. What are you doing here?
My impulse is to go Chubb, but I would also totally be okay with going Hill or Julio.
Okay, I want to follow your impulse. And you know what? I am going to protect myself because I have like one share of Chubb across so many drafts, and I won't get burned because if I do, it means that Samantha and I just won $200,000 with this roster.
Love it.
So now I think, the interesting decision point here is, there's some good research about in this format. Like if you get the 3 running backs to start and then you just completely go away from it, right? Because we're just making the bet that these guys all are bell cows and that they hit without injuries. And then we make up ground at wide receiver through volume. The issue is like, again, looking at these running backs, it's pretty gross in the 3rd round. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a guy I like, but he's now going up draft boards and normally the wide receivers look pretty good there. So what do you think as far as, is there a running back you'd be happy to take there as a 3rd, or do you think we head over to wide receiver?
I think we pivot to wide receiver now. I tend to draft like pretty evenly. Like I never go like on a run of 3 at a time, but that's like my personal thing just because I get really nervous.
Look at this. I'm already getting tweets. See, people are in these drafts and they already say, Peter took Dalvin Cook at 108, 0 RB is dead. That's the problem with these drafts, man. Like I'll hop in one just at night in my own time. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll experiment with an RB start. And I start getting blown up of like, Peter's a fraud. He doesn't actually believe in this strategy. I mean, can a guy just experiment in a draft every now and again?
Oh my God, you can totally like pawn that off on me. Say it was 100% my fault and like I take full responsibility.
Samantha bullied me into it.
Yes, I bullied you into it. I'm cyberbullying right now.
Yeah, she came onto my show and she said, look, this draft, it's my way or the highway. And I was like, okay. The nice thing is there's because of how RB heavy these starts are, that the kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th round is really a nice range for wide receivers. I assume Hopkins and Godwin will be gone by the time we pick. Who of this kind of second tier of wide receivers have you been liking?
I really like Allen Robinson, who I feel like has been really like overlooked in a lot of drafts. So he's the type of guy that I'm targeting. I mean, DJ Moore is also a guy that I think goes underappreciated for sure. Like I would rather have him over guys like Odell, who I think has like a usually higher ADP. Maybe not here, but with Allen Robinson, are you rooting for Nick Foles to win that job, or do you not mind if we go back to Trubisky and try to replicate what he did last year? I do mind. Please don't go back to that.
You want to move on?
Yeah, I think most Bears fans are like ready to move on too, but I don't know. I don't want to speak for Bears Nation. My editor's a Bears fan, so
okay. Do you have any allegiances to teams, or are you just fantasy?
So I got into this as a fantasy player, and I got into it when I was living in South Carolina. So I would say I sort of like became a Panthers fan as a result. And it was a good year to become a Panthers fan because I had Cam on my roster. It was 2015, and obviously he blew up, and then the Panthers got really bad. So.
But now the pendulum swung back. They have one of the most fantasy-friendly rosters imaginable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to root for them, obviously. Like, not hard to root for them, but they're probably going to be in the basement of that division this year.
Yeah.
So
I know it is funny how that works because for fantasy, I love that division, right? You get the dome games, you get the Tampa Bay weather, and those games just always have shootout all over them. So it does look like, lo and behold, we might have the option between both Allen Robinson and DJ Moore. It sounded like you leaned, DJ Moore goes. So you want Allen Robinson?
I would be totally happy with having Robinson or like any of these top 4 guys. I think I'm pretty good with.
Yeah, no, let's do Robinson. I think that's a solid pick there, right at ADP.
I would say I'm also a little concerned about like Ben's health, so I've been shying away from the Steelers, but maybe I should buy the dip because I think that a lot of people are.
Yeah, that's an interesting. It can be scary, right, with those quarterbacks because it feels like it's so binary. It's like, he's going to either return to form and that offense, like you said, is way undervalued, or it's just like the Peyton Manning year he falls off the cliff. And it's just like there's nothing left. And that's a pretty scary proposition.
No, it's definitely scary. I mean, I think his like passing yards over under is like 3,800, which seems absurd for Ben. But now I'm like not even sure because who knows if he's going to play even half the season.
See what I'm talking about, Samantha?
I'm sorry, Genghis Khan stan account.
This is the thing. It's like, I just let me draft in peace, you people. I don't have to do an ideological draft every time. I'm just drafting with my friend Samantha. Okay, relax. Okay, so we are picking here at 4-5 again. I mean, for me, this is like the range. I just can never stomach a running back. Are there any that you wouldn't mind pulling the trigger on, or are you still good with the wide receivers here?
I don't hate Melvin Gordon, but I would probably look elsewhere right now.
Yeah, I would say the pro case for Melvin Gordon would be just how we could structurally build this, in that I would say we would probably be done with running back. Maybe one more we like later in the draft, but just hammer all the other positions after that. Or if we like a wide receiver enough, we could continue to, hashtag play the best plays.
Yeah. The guy that I was just going to say, Adam Thielen, just got drafted. So he would have been my favorite pick of the wide receivers available.
Let's see. I say if Melvin Gordon falls, he does. Why don't we go with the hyper fragile approach? We get our 3 running backs.
You are about to really piss off Twitter.
You're right. I have piss off Twitter equity with this pick. They're going to lose their mind. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All in.
Samantha, you have just triggered the masses. T-minus 30 seconds for more of these tweets to come in.
Oh God, I'm telling you, it's just blame me.
Yep. Let's see here. We have a few people in the chat who are in this draft. So we have to be careful. Sometimes we talk about what we want to do and they have snipe equity with their picks. So we got to just be careful of that.
Totally.
Yeah. See, look, they're coming out for us. What do you guys plan on taking Fournette next or what? See, these guys, I have conditioned them to my low testosterone drafting, where I draft a bunch of wide receivers and I don't get around to running backs until late. And we've triggered them today, Samantha.
Oh my goodness. No, we're going Cortland Sutton next, and then probably Leonard Fournette. And
wow. Are these the kind of mean comments you have to deal with too on the internet? What's more hyper fragile, this build or Pete's comedy career? Wow. They said from the guy who has, a professional headshot with a brick background. Yes, it is pretty fragile.
I would say that my comments are not mean as much. Definitely different type of comments, I'm assuming.
No, I've seen some of the shit that you have to deal with. That's absolute bullshit, and it shouldn't be happening, and it's awful that it does happen.
Someone called me the worst human alive this weekend, and I was like, that is a lot. Like, there's like 8 billion humans.
Right, you're like, at least if we're going to do these, ad hominem attacks, let's make them somewhat based in reality, maybe top 1% worst humans alive, just like anything that, doesn't fully stretch the imagination.
Right. All right, so how many do we have here?
Okay.
8 picks to go.
So so I think we do this. I think I unselect running back. We can't even see them. We can't even be tempted into them. And we go with, actually, I need to learn how to use this. Come on. Here we go. So we'll filter that out. And This will be a good range here to get wide receivers. I like all of these guys: Sutton, Fuller, Gallup, Diggs. Do you have any in there that you prefer?
I don't love Sutton, but I would say that I like Gallup and Diggs for sure. And I wouldn't hate if we went tight end because I like Ertz.
Yeah. It's crazy because after the Rager injury, Ertz had bumped up. I've seen him going like early fourth, everyone realizing how much volume he'd get. This is kind of a surprising slide. I would definitely be down to take him if he makes them to us, but I doubt he will here at the top of the queue.
Yeah, I get it. And now someone's probably going to snipe them because
Early pulled the trigger. That's a good pick. And I like in these drafts, when you get one of those elite tight ends, you really only have to take one more later. Whereas if we wait a while, we might have to grab, 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of good guys in the later rounds. I actually have a TikTok that's in my draft about later rounds tight ends. So there are a lot of guys that I like, but yeah, it's the type of thing you have to grab a few of them.
So Gallup does go. You said you were on board with Diggs, though?
I would be on board with Diggs. I mean, maybe Parker, but probably I think I like Diggs better. I don't know. Yeah. What about you? What's your opinion on Parker?
So I like Parker, but I've heard that he's banged up at practice right now and hasn't been playing as much, and it kind of has me worried.
All right, let's go Diggs.
Parker, though, I was talking about this with Hayden yesterday, trying to win this tournament, where we're having to beat, so many different people, make it through all these playoff rounds. The Miami Dolphins have a really good playoff schedule against it's KC, New England, and the Raiders. So those are all dome warm weather games, should be shootout games. I assume they'll be in evaluation mode with Tua by that time. So I like having the Miami Dolphins passing game, but yeah, a little spooked about Parker right now.
How spooked are you about Gesicki with Chan Gailey's offense?
Yeah, it's funny because my buddy Pat, who I do our podcast Ship Chasing with, he's been out on Gesicki, and it kind of is the argument just coming down to his efficiency versus is he going to be basically functioning like a wide receiver when they lose Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns? He's the next man up. So to your point, I think if Parker's not playing a lot early, I mean, it's Preston Williams and him. So the target should be there. I like Gesicki. I'm still in. How about you?
Yeah, it's just tough to see, like you said, if they end up playing him like a slot receiver, then I'm in. But I think Chan Gailey has had his tight ends in bottom 28th or lower, basically, for fantasy in all of the last seasons that he's been calling offense. So definitely a little bit concerning.
I'm going to ask our chat here. Does someone pass along the latest on Devontae Parker, the news blur? Because if he does fall to Samantha and I here at 6'5", I think we got to take him unless I missed a more damning report.
He was wide receiver 7, and Fitzpatrick is going to start the season, and he is his favorite target. So hopefully, if the health is there, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, after what we saw last season, it's impossible to question the talent at this point. I mean, he looked so good last year.
I'm also just convinced that Adam Gase ruins people. Once he leaves, people can be good, except Kalen Ballage. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, we got him. This is a really nice value. Let's scoop him up. So we, he goes 6 spots behind ADP, but in the drafts I've been doing, I mean, he goes early to mid 5th. So we got basically a full round discount there, which is nice because we need receivers.
For sure. So what would you do at this point?
So,
wow, some mean comments. Sorry, we were not grinding training camp tape hard enough.
You know what? These guys, I can take it. I'm used to it. As long as they're nice to you, I can handle their bullshit. Normally what I'm doing here is since we're not taking running backs and since this is a dead zone kind of for tight ends as well, I'm either thinking, all right, we need to keep hammering wide receiver, or if there's a really good stack option with one of our wide receivers. That said, all of our stack options, I guess we could do a Josh Allen. Are you in on Josh Allen?
Who else is available? Okay. I would not take Josh Allen over the other guys is the issue.
For sure.
I get the appeal for the stack, but I kind of think then you're reaching for that.
I agree with you. I think then the play is to draft another wide receiver, and then at a more reasonable draft slot, if Josh Allen's still there, we could consider the stack. So we'll see who slides here. This is kind of that range where the wide receivers really start to dry up. And so I do think it would be smart for us to get 2 more in this range. Who jumps out to you on the board with the caveat we are going to get sniped on a few of them here?
I guess Brandon Cooks at the top.
Yeah.
And then maybe Christian Kirk and Julian Edelman. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like Mecole Hardman, you can obviously make an argument for anyone catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Reagor, I'm really concerned about at this point. So especially with the COVID shortened off season, like I wasn't totally in on him anyway.
I know that was just such a gut punch. And like you said, there's now so many things working against him with not getting the full training camp reps, being injured. We would never take him here. I think he can be interesting if he slides, like 3 or 4 rounds or something, but I'm with you. I'd rather take Ruggs now. I mean, they just put Tyrell Williams on the IR, probably opens up a couple more targets. I think Ruggs could be exciting, but yeah, I'm with you on those other ones. Edelman would be a volume play. Crowder would be a similar volume play, or we go kind of the upside ceiling, which is normally the way I go, Kirk and Hardman. That said, we do need volume and just points from our wide receivers. So I think you can make a case for an Edelman or Crowder in this build as well.
I like Ruggs too, like what you said. He's going to probably play the slot, which I think is surprising to a lot of people given his like stretch the field speed. But I think it kind of works well with Derek Carr's very shallow depth of target.
Definitely. Talk About Keeper wants us to show you the available RBs. Look, I said we weren't going to show them because I didn't want to be tempted, but I will give you a peek, Taco Bell Keeper. I will give you a peek for just a few seconds. Take a look, and they're gone. Okay, so Kirk goes, Cooks goes, Edelman goes. So do you, I've been drafting a lot of Hardman, so you don't have to talk me into him. That said, if someone else jumps out, I'm on board here.
I would go Hardman or Ruggs in this spot. So I think we can go Hardman since we both like him.
Yeah, let's go Hardman, and there's still a chance that Ruggs makes his way back to us. We can now go check back in on the Josh Allen ADP. So those other quarterbacks are off the board. He is now the top guy. Let's just throw him in our queue just in case he makes it back.
Yeah, I like him here. It was just because I don't know that I would take him above Deshaun Watson, who was in Kyler Murray, who were on the board at the time.
I agree. I don't reach for stacks like that unless I've had times where I'll start with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And I'm like, I do not.
Then you have to, yeah.
Ryan. But I totally agree with you when you have kind of the luxury of knowing, look, we can get Tua in the last round with Devontae Parker. We can get Nick Foles in the last round. I mean, that actually opens us up to not have to reach for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I have a full stack, very sexy, in the Scott Fishbowl. And I have a couple of stacks, but because that roster is 24 picks. Or
what were your main stacks in that?
Oh, my main stack was that I got Mahomes and Hill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
so I got the 103 or 104?
106.
Whoa, Mahomes fell to you there?
Yeah.
That is very nice. I think he went in 101 to 103 in most drafts.
Oh, I wasn't ready for him to fall there. I actually was hoping that I'd get Kamara. And then he fell and I was like, oh, well, I guess I kind of have to take him. And then I probably reached for Hill in the next spot, but I didn't love Aaron Jones. And that was probably the best running back on the board at the time. So I was like, why not just go for the stack?
Yeah, no, I love it. I did. I think I have a Cardinal stack, Kyler, Nuke, and Kirk, and then I have a Big Ben Juju stack in the fishbowl. So, hey, nice. All that matters in that league is getting first, right?
Totally, first or last.
That's right. So I think at this point, are you good taking Josh Allen if he falls to us here?
Oh, totally good. Yeah. I actually just got him in my auction league too. He actually went a little undervalued, which I was surprised because I think that in most places I've seen him go higher than I would want to take him.
He's like that classic thing that people who watch football are like, this guy isn't a good real life NFL quarterback. And it's like, well, we don't care for fantasy.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Give me Jameis throwing like 55 times in a game all day.
And I just think this offense is going to be better. I mean, Diggs is a top NFL wide receiver. They bring him in. They gave up a decent amount to get him. And they also they draft Zach Moss. This whole offense should be better this year. I think they're going to score a ton of points.
I think it's definitely too for them. Like the boogeyman is gone with Brady leaving, and they have like at least a chance, really good chance to win the division. I'm sure they're like leading the odds at least for now. So,
Is a Lizard really wanted us to consider Fournette, hypothetical landing spot. Where are you handicapping the Fournette landing spot right now, or what are you hoping for?
Oh God, I just hope not the Pats because I'm so sick of seeing them win. And it's not even that good for fantasy because they don't have like a great runner. I mean, James White is basically a slot receiver, but then like look at how Belichick like handles his running backs. So it's not like that's an ideal spot. I mean, there aren't a lot of ideal spots for him to return on investment, especially if you already drafted. Like with his sub 4 yards per carry, he has to be in such a good workload, and there just isn't a place that really screams good workload right now.
100%. And no team is going to give him money to, have the workload that he's going to want. They're going to give him backup running back money. I think probably the best fit just for fantasy points would be going to Chicago. I mean, David Montgomery is hurt right now. He isn't that imposing of a lead rusher. I think he could step right in there to pretty good volume. But like you said, there's not a lot of options right now.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't hate Chicago for fantasy. I know, like, I think just out of a little bit of Schadenfreude would appreciate, at least for a second, seeing him go to the Chiefs, just because I think fantasy Twitter would lose their mind.
Yeah. Pete, deposit me, daddy. I don't know what this means, but Bo Padoof, I deposit you. I hereby deposit you. Okay. We are up in a few picks here. I think we are still in the market for wide receivers and potentially starting to take a peek at tight end as well.
I don't love any of the tight ends here. Jared Cook, I think, is due for a huge negative touchdown regression. I mean, I would like Higbee out of all of those probably, but still concerned about the sample size that we had last year. And it took a Gerald Everett injury for him to even get there. And I know he's the guy now, but they're still going to use Everett in like blocking situations and probably use like a 12 in 12 personnel. I don't like Gronk. I'm actually pretty high on OJ Howard. How do you feel about Gronk?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like I'm having a little cognitive dissonance because I'm coming around on Brady, but I truly think Gronk is cooked. And there, to your point, it sounds like OJ Howard's having a great camp.
He's having a great camp. He's a former first rounder. He's a lot younger than Gronk. And I think there were a lot of things working against him. Like as much as we love Jameis for fantasy, like he was saying that he had all these like bad habits that he had learned. And I'm like, gee, I wonder how that happened.
So the only one thing I would say we could do, and we actually can wait, I think a little bit, we could wait till our next pick. We could go for Gesicki the next time around and try to stack him up with Parker and Tua later.
I like that. That's pretty interesting.
So if we don't like tight end right now, I don't see any viable stack stuff for QB that we have to do right now. I think we're probably in the wide receiver business again. There's some interesting names here: Slayton, Brown, Sanders, or we could reach down to Preston Williams. What do you think here?
I actually like Darius Slayton as kind of like a boomer bust type guy. It'd be just because Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram can't stay on the field. Ingram's like missed 13 games of the last 2 years, and Sterling Shepard's super injury prone. So, and I'm really high on Danny Dimes this year, actually. So pretty hopeful that he'll have a good sophomore year.
For sure. I'm stoked you gravitated towards Slayton. That's normally who I'm always taking there in that range as well. I love targeting these second-year breakout wide receivers. And like you said, they're not all going to hit. Some of them are going to bust. But I want to take the Mecole Hardman, the Darius Slayton, the Deontay Johnson, because historically, one of those guys or a couple of them are going to have another big leap that second year.
Yeah, like I'm not excited about Emmanuel Sanders, like for instance. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Ooh, someone just brought something up that I completely missed. We could grab John Brown here to double stack with Josh Allen. We could go all in on that Bills passing game.
Is that something that you usually do, the double stack?
Yeah, so I don't mind. I think the double stack is fine and valid. We're making a bet on that offense. I think people get a little carried away with like the super stacks where they're drafting like 5 players from the same team. Then you just need them to scorch the earth. But I think we could totally do a double stack with Allen.
I don't hate that at all. And I think John Brown, like people forget about this guy. He's been falling a lot on draft boards and he had like 1,000-yard season last year.
The one thing I am realizing, I actually don't think this should deter us from our double stack, but we are staring down the barrel of a massive week 11 bye week issue. The one nice thing is our running backs all have different buys. And I think we can cover ground in the later rounds with some of our more wide receivers. But I would say after this pick with our wide receivers, we should probably be cognizant of bye weeks.
Okay, totally good point that I missed.
I'm with you. I always forget to. I think I did a stream a couple of weeks ago where I took only 2 tight ends that had the same bye week. Oh, John Brown goes. I think. Oh, and someone took Gesicki. They are really killing us here, Samantha.
I mean,
if
we want to go like tight end, I like Fant, but I don't know.
Yeah, I like Fant too. I've been drafting him.
I don't know if that's a reach, but now we're in 3 seconds. So
I don't think it is because this is a range where the tight ends come off the board quickly. A lot of teams don't have one yet. And it's basically your preference, right? Like this is a flat tier. Like I like Hawkinson, I like Gesicki, and I like Fant and Goddard too. And all of those guys end up going around the same. So I don't think it's bad to get your preference.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just really not in on Cook or Gronk.
Yeah. But I think Tyler's right. We're dealing with the snipers here. We're talking about our thought process for you and they're punishing us for it.
I need to know, has Leonard Fournette gone yet?
He did.
Okay.
He did. He went, I believe it was the 7th. I'm scrolling. 7-12. Also, guys, you guys need to remind me to go to grid view. I always forget to do that. That was brutal. He took John Brown 1 pick before us. And Gesicki goes, both of our stack options. That's why I think to your point earlier about not reaching for the stack is like you can get burned. I've started with Amari and Gallup and then Dak go 1 pick before me and it's just like it's so infuriating.
Oh yeah, for sure. I missed Laviska in a draft by 1 pick this weekend and was really, really upset.
I'm glad you mentioned that so I didn't forget. I know you said you tuned in for a little bit yesterday. Are you aware of what happens if Laviska Shenault is drafted on this stream by us?
No.
So he has become a bit of a cult hero for this stream, and I had prepared a hype reel dance party for Laviska Shenault. So I'm just saying if we happen to draft him, the producer could hypothetically roll that clip.
Wow, I love that.
That said, we probably don't have to take him at 11-8, but we would probably need to take him with our 12th round pick. And I'm just going to tell the snipers right now, if you snipe Laviska Shenault from us, I am not rolling the hype reel for you. It is only if Samantha and I draft him. So if you want to spite and take that away from everybody, go ahead. But I'm just setting the ground rules now because these guys are cruel, Samantha.
And just know that I'll just hold this grudge forever. So
exactly, I saw what you did with Kevin with the grudge, so I know how it goes. Okay, so we have, if we put Laviska in our back pocket, one thing we should put over here, and I don't think we have to take him yet, but because we took Slayton, we can get Daniel Jones over here to potentially stack up with Slayton. I'm going to head over to wide receiver and tight end. Let me know what you're thinking.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that I want to go 2 tight ends in a row. Do you think that we need to?
I think we can. Do you like Hawkinson?
I do like Hawkinson actually a lot.
Yeah. So the reason is because we didn't get one of those top 5 tight ends. I like getting 2 of the mid-tier ones and just hoping one of Fant or Hawkinson becomes a top 6 guy. Whereas now this kind of gives us the choice of if we really like an OJ Howard or someone late, we can add him, but we're not necessarily forced to. I think we could live with these 2 because it's only a 1Z position.
No, I like it. I like it for sure. Jared Cook has stayed on the board for a while now. Guess a lot of people don't like him.
Yeah. Actually, Harbs makes a good point. I don't think we should draft Daniel Jones because then we'd have both quarterbacks on that 11 bye that I just reminded myself of again.
Good point. Thank you.
So as much as we would like to stack it up, I think we probably you know what? That said, if we do end up getting Tua later, week 11 is a late bye week. And I don't know. What week do you think Tua starts by?
I'm going to say like week 6, maybe.
Yeah. And so even with that, we have a 5-week buffer. So I think we could still stack it up and then just hope that Tua could cover us for that 1 week 11. Maybe we get really in the weeds here and see who Miami plays week 11. Oh gosh. Tua's week 11 too. All right.
Oh my goodness.
That plans out.
Bye, NATO.
Okay.
Can you go back to the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Really quickly?
Let me get off that. There we go. So I will say here, Samantha, I think if we want the Laviska party, we probably have to do it now. He's been going off in the late 12, early 13. That said, I want you to choose who you like here.
I mean, I think we should go for the Laviska party.
I think we should. I think the people need it. Even by ADP, this isn't. This is where he goes off. His ADP just keeps skyrocketing up. We need wide receivers, guys. I say we do it. I am so delighted to get to show Samantha the Laviska hype reel. We just Laviska. Let's go.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was great.
Are you hype? I'm hype.
I am so hyped. So hyped.
It's, what I love too about that highlight reel is like you see the range of his skill set, even at the end, getting the goal line carry. They've heard me wax poetic about why I'm excited about Laviska this year. What has you so hyped on him?
I think he just could have gone a lot earlier if there were not as many injury issues, and just like a type of guy that I think like the normal person is just overlooking in drafts. That, you know, like we have to remember that most people aren't like grinding tape in April. So there are a lot of people that would probably just not even know him on the board. So he's the type of guy that I think could like really, really break out and end up putting up big numbers this year.
It's so true. It's such a good point to remember because we can become the pretentious snobs that are like, oh, you didn't know about Laviska Shenault? I mean, I did the auction league with some buddies last night and I got him for $1 at the end of the draft. No one had any money left. No one even outbid me. No one cared. It's like, I mean, in different years, if this wide receiver class wasn't so deep and he didn't have his kind of injury history, he's like a top 15 to 20 pick in the entire draft.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board there. And yeah, it was such a crazy year. Like guys like T. Higgins and Michael Pittman went in the second round, and they would have obviously been first rounders.
Yeah, this was a loaded class, and I think people will look back on this one and realize that it was pretty comparable to the 2014 class for as how stacked as it was. And also, I mean, last year, even it wasn't that great on paper, but we had guys like, you know, Terry McLaurin, you know, bust out of nowhere too. So I think we should be more open to these talented guys having success in year one.
Makes you like wonder what the Packers were doing at the end of the first round a lot.
Ooh, yeah. And the Packers is a great example. I mean, not getting Rodgers more. The Patriots, they did get N'Keal Harry last year, but just year after year with Brady and loaded draft classes, they didn't draft a single wide receiver in the 2014 draft class. And it's like, what are you guys doing? You got to get some weapons for these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely worrisome, especially because like the windows to make these championship runs are so short. I think because you have to over leverage yourself in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, yeah, some of it's luck and you just like happen to draft a really good guy. But a lot of it is like, you end up kind of front loading all of this money. And then you end up like the Rams like 2 years later where you like don't have a first round pick and whatever.
Seriously. Okay, so we are on the clock again. It is I still think we could go Daniel Jones. We just can't go the Tua route at the end. We can also, I think we're good on tight end. We're good looking at wide receivers here. This is getting a little gross. Does anyone stand out to you, or do you want to go DJ?
Jefferson stands out to me out of this group, but I would say I don't have a problem going DJ.
Yeah, it's I don't mind Jefferson either here, especially
just because I think he'll take over that Stefan Diggs role. Like there are a lot of targets to go around, so
let's do Jefferson. And then what that also does is it gives us another quarterback stack option a little later if we want to grab Kirk. So this is this is kind of the way that we hammered running back early, and we had the the fortitude to stay away from it. We've really built out our wide receiver core from there, and I think we can continue to push it. We're going to want to get 2 more QBs, and that will put us up to 14. And then we could probably do 1 or 2 more wide receivers, and we can probably sprinkle in a 4th running back if there's one that jumps out to us.
Yeah, how are you feeling about Keyshawn Vaughn right now?
It's funny you say that. He had become like one of my highest drafted players on Underdog because he keeps falling so far. What about you? Where are you at on the Rojo Keyshawn battle?
Definitely concerned, just because I feel like he's having one of the worst camps that I've seen news-wise. But of course, there's a lot of like, you got to parse out the signal and the noise. I mean, someone's going to be a running back. They've got to figure that out because it's taken them a while. I feel like they haven't had like a really solid like running back situation in Tampa for a while. They had that weird like Peyton Barber Rojo thing last year that didn't really work. And I was kind of hoping that Keyshawn would be like the guy this year. And I don't know, a little concerned, but
yeah. My thing is like, I'm not a tape grinder. I don't know who's actually really good. So I'm just kind of being price sensitive with it. And I was drafting Rojo early on when it was, 7th, 8th round. Now I'm just drafting Keyshawn because I think there's some ambiguity. And so I'm just going to take the huge discount here. So that said, we actually have an interesting decision because we still do need to get 3 total quarterbacks and Daniel Jones keeps slipping. I think we grab Daniel Jones here and then maybe try to get Kirk to cover that bye week issue.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that works.
Yeah, so I mean, look at the ADP there. He's been going at pick 137.1, and we get him at pick 161. That's not bad.
No, that's great value.
So I like how the nice thing about, are you feeling uncomfortable with the 3 running backs, or do you like how this build has shook out?
I actually don't mind it at all because I think that's kind of my thing is that I get running back done early and then kind of fill out a bunch of depth and wide receivers just because I feel like there are more guys that I like on that end. It's like when I'm getting into like that 3rd round and I don't have a 2nd running back, I'm getting really nervous.
In Schletty says, why 3 QBs? Why 3 QBs? Because we have 2 with a week 11 bye and we don't want to take a 0 at QB that week. And I think my personal preference is if I get one of those top 5 or 6 QBs, I'm definitely only taking 2. If I get into a little more dicey territory, I think the onesie positions, both tight end and quarterback, are the best spots to go with 3 guys and make up for it with volume if you don't invest a high pick into it. So with Allen and Jones, I think it's close if they didn't have the same bye week, but with the same bye week, I think it's an easy no-brainer to grab a 3rd. Okay. And this is Sarah. So this is where I'll show you of how gross wide receiver gets. I mean, you're already noticing, but I mean, this is what's available to us now.
Is John Ross like even in the league? Like we never see him. I don't know.
I know. I've taken him a few times as like the quintessential. I prefer this guy in best ball. You know, you don't know when he'll get his spiked weeks. Are you excited and bullish on Burrow, or do you think he's going to have some growing pains?
I would say I'm like in the middle. Like one of the guys that I do my podcast with is like got a total man crush on Burrow. So I feel like I'm not certainly there, but obviously what he did at LSU is like really, really exciting. So, but it's still the Bengals, and they still had a bottom of the barrel offensive line last year. And I know they made some improvements, but you know, it's like watching what we saw with the Browns. Like they made improvements year over year, and we expected them to be like a 12-4 team, and they still didn't finish with a winning record.
Yeah. I think it's so tough because how many times has the NFL failed in, you know, projecting these quarterbacks? And it's like he's either, you know, going to come in and pick up right where he left off with one of the greatest college football seasons ever, or it's like, holy cow, maybe there's a huge learning curve coming to play in the NFL. So I'm with you. I feel like it could go either way. I don't have much confidence.
There are kind of just few rookies that I'm like really ready to start. Like I don't want them being my starters in most situations.
Yeah.
Just because of the way the season's been.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's, at least in these tournaments, Burrow's kind of tricky in that I will grab Tyler Boyd sometimes, but you know, he's more of a volume possession receiver. I'm not grabbing AJ Green that much, and so I don't find myself going out of my way to get him as like a stack guy, but I do think he has the potential to beat his ADP based on where he's going. So that's kind of intriguing. So we are going to be about up here because we don't seem to love anything, and we wanted to maybe get that third stack.
We could also do a Gardner stack here.
Oh, you're right. Who do you prefer, Gardner or Kirk?
I don't know. I don't love either of them, but up to you.
You know what? I think the Jags are going to be throwing so much more this year than the Vikings.
All right, let's go for it.
And
he's got mustache power. Like it's
exactly. And if we're like, you know, your roster has to tell a story, right? So we reached for Laviska Shenault. So if Laviska Shenault has this insane rookie year, if he's this year's AJ Brown, it necessarily means Gardner Minshew is going to have a great year too.
100%. Though they may or may not be tanking, like full tank mode right now that right. They are doing the full-on fire sale with their whole roster. Not even fire sale. They didn't get anything for Leonard Fournette.
So we have 3 more picks left. We are done at QB, and it's a little ambiguous at running back and tight end. And I would say we definitely want to add – I would say we add 2 more wide receivers and then your choice of a 4th running back or a 3rd tight end.
Is Josh Kelly, is it Joshua Kelly? Yeah, Joshua Kelly.
Yeah.
Is he available?
Let's see.
It might be a reach, but.
No. I love that. He's gone already. Yeah, he's been going in like the 14th of these.
Gotcha.
It's disorienting going because I was the same as you. Like Josh Kelly's on the waiver wire of that auction draft I did last night. And then you go in here and he goes off the board sometimes in the 13th round. These guys on Underdog, they're just too sharp. Okay, we're on the board. One option, if you wanted to, because we don't seem to have preferences at wide receiver, we could take OJ Howard now as our 3rd tight end.
I don't hate that, and I'm actually like pretty high on him going into this year. So
me too, and I think with this thing. With this team, we are basically just chasing one of these guys to break out, and I don't mind having 3 here based on us waiting on tight end. I mean, that's an athletic tight end core right there.
No, for sure.
So now this gets fairly easy because we have 2 more picks, and we're down to basically I think we go hyper fragile with running back, and we just grab 2 more wide receivers to fill this out.
Is there anyone that you really like here?
So I'll scroll through and say some of the guys I normally draft late. Andy Isabella, in that air raid offense, it sounds like he should be the fourth guy in 4 wide receiver sets at times. Who else? Scotty Miller, I've been drafting a little bit with Tom Brady. It seems like he could be the third wide receiver there. JJ Arcega-Whiteside with Rager's injury. He's apparently having a good camp, second-year breakout potential. Anyone else jump out to you?
Actually, like Van Jefferson is
Yeah.
a guy that I have been targeting just because I think he might take over that Brandon Cooks role.
It sounds like you are out ahead of it because I just saw the report today that he had passed Josh Reynolds, but it sounds like you've been on this for a while.
I have liked him over Josh Reynolds just as if you're going to like late round get a guy from the Rams, like he's the guy that I'd rather have than Josh Reynolds.
Yeah. And I saw Rich Rebar had a tweet about it where it's like the whole kind of he could be extremely relevant if, it's the 11 personnel versus 12 personnel or Jared Everett and Higbee both can be on the field at the same time. If they're not, and they're playing 3 wide receiver sets and he's the one out there, I mean, that's immensely valuable at this price.
For sure. So we have 2 picks left. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So we have our late 17th and early 18th. It's just 18 rounds. And I'm good to YOLO it at running back and just pray to God that these guys stay healthy and run hot and then just crush everyone at the other positions.
I mean, I don't hate Bryce Love, but I also hate the Washington offense. So, I don't know how you can – I know. It's like icky.
I'm with you. I like Bryce Love. He's been a guy I've been drafting. He's one of those guys where people look and they're like, oh, Adrian Peterson or J.D. McKissick and Gibson. It's like Bryce Love has a very realistic path to being their starting running back to close the season.
Yeah, it is so up in the air, and I'm not drafting Adrian Peterson at the ripe old age of 55 or however old he is. You're just hoping he falls in the end zone once in a while, but
I know. The people earlier in the chat, we didn't get to it. Everyone's asking well, where would you take Leonard Fournette, or who would you my line is I would take Leonard Fournette over Adrian Peterson. That's where my push come to shove line is. I don't mind going a running back here and then just going with 8 wide receivers because I think we recovered nicely at wide receiver after the slow start.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's try that. Let's try to get Love, and then we'll come back. I did see Van Jefferson. We got sniped. Look at this. That's funny. Van and Josh Reynolds go back to back.
Just because we talked about them. We're like influencers.
I think so. I mean, should we throw a red herring out here? DeAndre Washington, even though he might not make the 53-man team, he could be just who you need on your team.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Bryce Love is falling so much in these drafts. Let's grab him.
I like it, especially this value.
Perfect. Okay, and then so we did lose out on your guy Van Jefferson. I'm open to whoever. These are all kind of low probability dart throws. Does anyone jump out to you of these?
I think probably Isabella, just because I don't think there's, like you said, I really like that air raid offense. I think Kyler Murray is going to make a big step this year. I mean, he already was amazing last year, but
yeah. And Isabella was a good prospect.
Yeah, and I think that they're still going to be throwing a lot, unfortunately, just in negative game scripts is what I mean.
Yeah. I saw that report too about the estimated that he might not make the roster. I truly don't believe it because I don't think, Gibson and McKissick are going to be pass catching backs used in different ways. The battering ram, he is the guy behind. I mean, I know people are going to make a case for Barber, but I think talent wins out. And we've seen Barber and AP. We know what they are. I think Bryce Love makes the team and makes some noise this year, but that's just me. Okay, we'll see if Isabella falls to us and we can round out this squad. I like how it turned out from a construction standpoint.
So you're not gagging because we went 2 running backs at the beginning.
No, my thing, even though it's not my preferred build, I just think you need to be going fragile in some way to win a tournament. And I think the problem people fall into is I draft running backs early because I like them. And then I still like running backs and I'll keep drafting them. And it's no, we need to make up points at those other positions with quantity. So I have a stomach for it when we kind of tailor the construction to it after the fact.
No, I like it. Awesome.
Sweet. So let's get this team up here. This draft will finish in the sec. I'm going to start scrolling down our team, and I want you to give your kind of final recap assessment of what we did, what you like, what makes you uncomfortable, and our chances of winning $200,000 here.
Well, obviously you were nice enough to let me go to RB at the beginning. It's probably my preferred strategy this year, just because I think there's just been a dearth of guys in good roles. And I really like Cook and Chubb. I'm not concerned that Hunt is going to take away too many of those rushing situations. Love A-Rob, think that he is undervalued this year because people think that Chicago's a trash fire, which a mini trash fire, not total trash fire. Melvin Gordon's obviously definitely the guy. They paid him, and I mean, obviously they believe in Drew Lock, so let's go with that team for sure. Stefan Diggs, I mean, he's obviously the elite receiver of him and John Brown, just the better route runner. So I think he's definitely the guy to own. He's obviously going a lot higher than Brown is in drafts. Parker, a lot of people are going to argue that he's going to regress and whatever, but I think he has a lot of really good upside. He finished as wide receiver 7 last year, so I'm not too concerned.
For sure. Yeah. And sorry, the draft board just kicked over to, as it finished here, to our team. And then, yeah, I think we did a great job backfilling with some really high upside wide receivers. We didn't.
We got our boy. Like,
I mean, that's, you win, you get LaVisca, you win the draft. It's as easy as that. And what I like about this too is, you know, we talked about that idea of like chasing volume versus upside. And, you know, Allen Robinson's going to be a volume guy. I think Diggs and Parker are going to see nice volume, but we kind of was like the scared money don't make money. Like we took big upside swings with Hardman, Slayton, Shenault, Jefferson, and Isabella, which again, this is a top heavy price pool. We're trying to win $200,000. We can't play scared.
I love it. No, I actually like all of those guys that we got in like the later rounds. Those are the types of wide receivers that I'm definitely targeting. They're way more exciting than getting guys like Auden Tate or something like that in those comparable rounds.
For sure. Well, this was awesome. If you guys missed at the top, you definitely need to be checking out Samantha's stuff. She's writing articles for the New York Post. She's got a TikTok that's popping off. Is there anything else where people can check you out at? And Twitter, of course, at Samantha NFL.
I think that's like all my platforms. But yeah, on everything and try to create content all over the place. And yeah, just follow me for hot takes and some silly TikTok memes, I guess.
There you go. You've inspired me. I got to get back. You know what? We should do we should get a TikTok collaboration going on.
100%. I love it.
I did one with Ian Harditz. You know how he does his chopper tweets where it's like he predicts who's going to go off that Sunday. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so yeah, you'll notice him this season. Like every Saturday night, he does like his bold prediction, and it's like the Twitter art with the chopper, and it's like just dropping down to say Marlon Mack's going to score 2 touchdowns. So, anyways, we did a TikTok collab off of the song that's like it's a chopper. That's how bad I am at TikTok. I can't even sing this song back.
This guy Los Tacos said we should do I'm an accountant. I have already done that one.
Yeah. Oh, I did see that one. That was good. So yes, definitely check out Samantha on TikTok. She is crushing it over there. Samantha, thank you so much for coming on today. And yeah, I will be back with a randomizer best ball draft tomorrow night. Until then, we will see you guys next time.